What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Talk with, Ryzak today, because I don't know where the heck Jeff is. He decided to just bail on me. I don't know, sent me some message about not liking me, not wanting to be here. Oh, that was the wrong message. Jeff's not feeling very well, right? If you haven't heard, through the grapevine or online, he is down for the count right now. So hope that he can be better soon. What he's dealing with is not fun for anybody. So let's just leave it there. But welcome to Coffee Talk. It is what is this? 26th of August, the year of our Lord, 2023. Hat tip to Josh, all that stuff. I think I got it, Jeff. We've got a pretty good show for you today. I say pretty good just because, it's going to be pretty good. Actually, might even be great because Jeff's not here. So we've got two co-hosts that are going to join us today. You have seen them in the past when I was away in another foreign land. And so I figure we might as well go ahead and bring them in here. Who are we going to start off with? Jim. Hi, Jim.
Ryzak, how are you?
You are back, sir, but this time it's with me, which is much better.
Right. And I don't want to say this so Jeff will hear it, but we have been looking forward to this one.
He told me that a few times throughout the past couple of weeks. And although I'm flattered, I must say I'm a little bit nervous because you all are way smarter than I am. So you can make me look like an idiot.
I don't think we're smarter. I think we just swim in different streams of social media.
Yes. So, I tend to stick in the Toys R Us lane with the toys and the video games.
We tend to stick in the Nerds R Us lane.
Right. And remainders. I would go with remainders too.
I shop in that store sometimes. So, we're all good peoples. We're all going to get along. Hi, Ann. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm wonderful. I really do appreciate you all doing this. I know you are very good friends with Jeff outside of the internet land as well. And he says that he does not want to mention what he's got going on with his kidneys. So we won't talk about his kidneys at all. I believe he still has 2 of them. So that's a good sign. But what have you all been up to since the last time you were here? Jim, I'll start with you. Oliver's been doing some streams. What have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Oh my gosh. I wish I had some highlights of what I've been doing since we were last together. Let's see, making some coffee, because I know this is Coffee Talk and you want to know. So making coffee every day. And generally trying to get one of my kids off to university in a week.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Is that stressful?
No, because it's not moving day.
Okay.
I'm about to find out how well they pack.
I have one more year and then I'll be going through it. So I ask out of curiosity to maybe see what's coming because I'm having a hard time with all of this stuff. So
the challenge I have is I'm no longer going to have anyone to talk to in the house about Resident Evil franchise or other zombie video games. And also no one to talk to about Batman and the Wayne family universe.
Well, the good news is I know that there's a lot of people that like both of those things, Jim. We just got to get you in touch. Okay.
Fair. I just need to find the right subreddit.
Yeah, we got to get you a group. So let's get on that, people. If you're watching, let's find these groups for not only the zombie games but for Batman. and how about you? Since you were with Jeff last time, how have you been? What's been going on?
Well, so in the children who stream category, my son Atmos Fierce continues to stream on Twitch. So, and his handle is Atmos_Fierce. So check him out.
Please.
And I also have one going to college, community college in September, but she lives in my basement. So the counter to oh my gosh, they're leaving the home is, oh my gosh, I might have to sell only at some point in the future, sell just the ground and upper floor of the house, sever the basement and have her live there forever. But that may be, in fact, what's the best thing for her. So
So Jeff was giving me a little bit of info, a little bit more info about the two of you than I already know. And you are Canadian by American pathway, and I found it interesting. You said college, but Jim said university.
yes, that's because here college is community college and university
Okay.
is 4-year undergraduate.
I find that interesting because we use the term engineer for maintenance workers that take care of buildings. They're building engineers, right? But a building engineer in Canada is not that. It's somebody that actually has a degree or they have a trade, a specialty, something. So different ways of saying things. I always pick up on it. So trying to learn. I don't want to offend people, you know?
I have to run
I'm
for
not-
a
I'm
second
not
to
a
get the
building
door.
engineer.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I have to run to grab the door. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry, this is live, so things happen.
Yeah, Jeff is going to be walking in just a second. I'm ready for it with his waffles or pancakes. Oh, now it's just me and a blank Jim. We got to get me and Ann. No? We got a producer today on the show. The producer has, sweaty fingers or something because the producer is not putting the person on the screen that's still here with me. So let me take this opportunity to say good morning to Raymond Sherrod. I'm so glad that you joined us early this morning, and Ann is back now.
No idea what happened. Jim said he had to leave, and suddenly my screen just went dark. So evidently, Jim is my whole world.
I think Jim's pushing some buttons behind the scenes. Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got some good topics today that you and I can go ahead and start talking about. One of the things that I wanted to chat with you about is the lunar news that's going on right now, which is planetary news. So that's pretty cool. You and I were chitty chatty about this in the little pre-meeting here. We've got some drama for those World Cup champs. We've got the post of the week we want to talk about. We've got some did you hear about news, and then you all are giving me the 5 questions today, which I am terrified about. So hopefully I won't disappoint there. But as always, the show today is brought to you by Wondershare. And if you don't know, just check out Jeff's posts because he uses the Filmora software. He does all of his edits. He does all of his voiceovers. He puts all of the clips together. He's doing a really good job. He's trying to bust those out every week, and they're really good. Fun to go back and look at the little short clips from the show that he's been doing. So love what he's doing with Wondershare and Filmora. So if you need that editing software, give that a chat, give that a look, and ask Jeff if you have any questions because he's like a pro now. So, Jim, you good?
I'm good.
Where's the butler? You gave him off on Saturday?
Alfred. Oh, I'm sorry. I've said too much.
All right. That's what I needed to know right there. All right, Bruce, let's get it going. We've got big news out of the universe. Where is it? There it is. Come on. Hey, look at that. India spacecraft Chandrayaan-3 lands on the moon. And when it got there, it saw a little welcome sign because 3 countries have been there previously. That would be the United States and Russia. If you remember the great space race of the 60s, which I don't because I wasn't alive. But
thank you for making Jim and I feel old. Continue.
No worries at all. I was alive, however. Ooh, look at that. That's some good literature right there.
I also, this is the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong, from my home state of Ohio.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. Well, China went in 2012, I believe. I think it was 2012. And now India is joining them. So there is the tweet on the right of the actual landing. I don't know what to think about some of these videos and things that come into us. This is looks a little dated to me. I don't know, but it's nice to see the excitement here. I honestly didn't even know this was even going on. That's how out of the loop I am. Did you all hear anything about this, like in the lead up to?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that me nerding out?
Yes, well,
That's
it's your
okay.
job, Jim. We
Okay.
already discussed. Jim, we
Okay.
already discussed. It's our job.
Yeah.
Our job.
I want you
We're
to. I need you to.
nerdery.
You're saving me.
I recall sitting in front of a black and white TV and watching Anne's co-state citizen walking on the moon. So this is cool. There's a lot of stuff going on here. The previous mission crashed, so this is very successful for that program, and they plan to have a personed, spacecraft up in 2025.
Wow.
I think that, so once again, nerdery, but let me also say, I only know this because Jeff sent us all the topics and Jim and I were well, maybe Jim wasn't. I was Googling like a lot last night.
Good.
My understanding is, because I saw an interview on CBS with a former U.S. astronaut, that the station with a person or so on it, a permanent station, is I believe is the U.S. and the idea is to make that a base, so that it's like a way station for exploration of Mars. So I guess this is sort of like the moon version
It'll be a
of
pit stop.
the by the way, or the state rest stops converted into American English. So this is kind of like the Pittsburgh Turnpike by the way stop, where you can because the astronaut was also saying, because there's frozen water there, so they might be able to use the water to refuel water, and they might be able to separate the oxygen out, use that for breathing. So think of this as a rest stop, but maybe without the stinky washrooms.
Because they're on the south side of the moon, right? They're at like the south
Yes.
point pole, whatever you want to call it there.
Yes.
And that
This
has
is-
never, nobody's ever been there.
Right. It's a tough place to land because of the landforms. And India really showed off their technological ability by landing there.
When I was reading through some of the stories, and Jim, please correct me where I'm wrong, because I know that you'll know this, but Russia failed quite a few times before they actually got there. India was not, they didn't sit on a lot of failures leading up to this. Am I wrong in that?
I think the point of going to the moon the first few times for any nation is to fail.
Well, that's how you learn, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That's why Elon sent that rocket up, a few months back, and it blew up, and he was like, "Oh, this is a victory for us. Like, now we know."
Right. Let's separate Elon's project from the pure research. And I don't want to make any enemies for your channel now. But everyone fails because the first goal is to get something there, and then to send something that will send data back. And so this mission is a huge success.
So Jim,
this is something. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't mean to go on.
Sorry, Ryzak, but I just want to. So, given this whole thing where Vladimir Putin just killed one of his opponents this week by blowing up an aircraft with a bomb on board, so Russian was unsuccessful. This is a serious question. Are the head people responsible for that launch still alive, or would they have somehow accidentally fallen out of windows for that failure?
Defenestration is a time-honored tradition in Central and Eastern Europe. There aren't a lot of assassination by falling out of the first floor, which doesn't answer your question, but did give me a chance to talk about window
Stall
design.
a little bit.
Yes. The Japanese, who have robust technology, have never landed on the moon, but they have sent a craft, and it crash landed after its orbits decayed. So this is a very exclusive club.
Okay. So
The one
those
thing I
Russian
find
guys are
fascinating-
probably still alive.
looking at this picture from the surface of the moon, right? You see all the space out around it, and you would think like you could just walk around the whole thing. Like, it doesn't look like it's that far to walk, but I guarantee you it is much bigger than what you can see. So interesting how you're kind of on the surface out in space on the moon here, but we have our atmosphere, we have our ozone, we have all that layer there, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know, it just looks like everybody's like, oh, they landed in the south and it's a big deal, nobody's been there, and I'm like, can't you just walk around this thing? Shows how much I know. I got really big into the Mars stuff back in like the 90s, when they were first talking about sending the Mars rover and this and that, and I just find it fascinating that however far away this is, light years and light years and light years, they're able to remotely control this rover or get these photographs back. And, you know, it looks like something you made in your kitchen garage with like tinfoil and, you know, so I grew up in the DC area, the Washington DC area, and one of the Smithsonian's there is the National Air and Space Museum. And they have a lot of stuff in there from NASA's history, 60s and 70s. And it's cool to see that stuff up front. And it's hard to believe that it could have been, you know, somewhere else we can't fathom. So anyway, congrats to India. That's pretty cool. And so they're going to try to get some people up to the moon here soon. That's the next step.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Americans too, with the Artemis project.
Yeah. Well,
So
we'll have more to. I should have put Marvin the Martian on here, but that's the moon. So
No.
Yeah.
No, it should have been the Transformers movie, Dark of the Moon.
Dark of the Moon. Yep.
Yeah.
I should have had the Decepticons sitting in the back.
I feel a little badly admitting I saw that movie.
Oh man.
You have kids.
Come
You
on.
have kids. Use the kids'
True.
excuse. Use
No,
the kids' excuse.
I can't lie.
A Canadian going to the moon? What was that comment about, Jeff?
I'm sure if anyone knows, Jim knows. Is there a Canadian going to the moon anytime soon?
I think there is one on the crew, one of the future crews in the Artemis mission.
Oh, very cool. Yay.
It's not me. It's not Jeff. It must be you, Ann.
Not me. Not
Okay.
me.
You know, Jeff, well, I guess he can't answer me here. So that's
Okay,
that's not going to work.
So we can say whatever we want.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yeah.
Oh, this is too good. That's actually dangerous. I don't know if I should be awarded that power. Jim, let me ask you this, because you follow this pretty closely, it seems. There we go. There's like an international space coalition. I mean, this isn't like owned territory, right? So these countries, they come together high level. They have to approve things together for stuff like this to happen, or you know, because I think about like the space race, right? There were two countries that were, you know, more advanced than everybody else at the time, and so they were, you know, competing to do this. I think back in the 60s, would the people that are the heads of India or the heads of, you know, any of these other countries have had a problem with this because they couldn't do it, or did they not have much say?
There is in force now a moon convention. I swear it doesn't have the "Hello, my name is" badges, and it's not catered. But there is an
There's
agreement.
ice on the moon. It doesn't have to be catered.
Fair.
There you go.
As long as they bring their own water bottle.
Yes.
So there is a convention around these things, and who goes where is negotiated. But you're right. In the 50s and 60s, it was the Cold War, or really Cold War, because it was in space. And I want to suggest there's an interesting element about China and India going to the moon and going to space. They are intense rivals in Asia. They fight wars, not recently, but they come into how do I want to put this delicately? There are spheres of interest that they are fierce about. And having a presence on the moon for both of them is about regional power.
And population growth has been a big topic for both of those countries, with India now becoming the most populated country here in recent weeks, taking that spot from China. So I can see exactly what you're talking about. So, well, good. Squids, what's up, buddy? Haven't seen the Squids in a while, so nice to see you here. Thanks for stopping in. Well, this is cool. The reason I asked that question about like the space and like the ownership stuff is I don't know if you saw, there's a news story out there right now where Japan is leaking basically biochemical water from a nuclear plant into the ocean. And there's got to be so much ownership of coastline and stuff like that. But I just wonder if anybody else has any say from the world to be like, hey, you know, there's marine life there. What if this comes downstream? And they're saying it's all safe and everybody's saying it's safe, but it just doesn't sound like what should be done, right? So I think a little bit about that side of things. So
but I
good
think,
stuff.
I mean, yes, and I mean, how many U.S. tankers have dumped all their oil
Absolutely
into the ocean? You know,
Yeah.
like there's a long, you know, history of this kind of stuff, and the ocean is complicated because of, you know, ownership, just like the poles are complicated because of all this stuff. For sure. So I don't, you know, I think a lot of industrialized countries are offside on this stuff. So I don't, it's not just Japan by any stretch.
Yeah. No, that definitely not my intention to just kind of point the finger at them. I just know that that's the story that's out there right now because there's a little bit of, you know, question about it. Is it safe, right? Is it, so you're talking about radioactive water that was in a nuclear power plant 10, 11 years ago active, and now we're releasing that into the environment. So
well, what could go wrong?
I should have put that in here. That would have been a good story.
Yeah, yes.
But, you know, Jim and I are old enough to remember 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl. So what could go wrong indeed?
Right.
But neither of us are old enough to remember Chalk River and Windscale. So there's that.
There was another one in New Jersey in like the 80s, I think. Wasn't there a reactor in Jersey that was releasing chemical into the air and it was making everybody in the town sick? I thought I watched something about that. Maybe I should remember things so that I'm not saying I think.
Let's remember East Palantine, Ohio. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and all the train derailments and you know.
Yeah.
So, all right.
The water issue is interesting. Sorry. We used to believe that dilution was the solution to pollution.
Oh my gosh,
and that was an actual thing that governments and engineers believed in. So
interesting note in the comments: Indian Point in New York State facing the same thing, but New York make it illegal for that water dumped in the river. Thank you, Purple Haze.
Yes.
Well, that water in that river is going to supply other downstream. You know, can't have the pollution from our state getting into the states below us. So that is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there environmentally. I mean, that's kind of the realm of. It's kind of what I do for work. I'm health and safety manager, health safety and environment manager, and so ISO 14001 is the big environmental program for environmental waste, and you know, we're looking in deep on that, trying to roll it over to a lot of our sites and things. And I had experience with it with my last job. And so whenever these things kind of happen, you know, the nerd radar pops up and you know, I'm like, oh, environment. Oh, here we go. Let's talk about it. So pretty cool.
Nerd radar.
Yeah. Purple Haze, good morning. I did not mean to not say hi to you. I just didn't want to cut off our lovely guests here. So thank you for being here this morning with us. All right, I think we beat that one up.
Wait, sorry. Did you just call me a lovely guest?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See, I'm kind. I'm not Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah. I rewind the tapes before I bring them back. I don't cut them. Sounds like a Jeff thing to do. All right. If you have been watching the show for a couple of weeks, you have known that I have been very adamant about supporting and talking about the Women's World Cup because it's just important to me with my daughter, right? So Spain is the World Cup champions. They had a wonderful game against England in the final. Pretty close game, maybe some controversy depending on who you want to ask about certain things like normal, but they wound up winning. And so in order to get there, they drew Group C, which had Japan in it, who actually beat them in the group stage. Japan is a powerhouse. And then when they went into the knockout round, oops, I forgot the first one there. They started off really well against Switzerland, 5-1. And then the games started getting, a little bit tougher. Netherlands, who tied the U.S., they won 2-1. Sweden, who beat the U.S. in the knockout round, Spain won 2-1. And then they make the final there against England, 1-0. And that actually, could have gone into some extra time there if some things went a different way. So, there were a lot of smiles after the game, as you saw from that picture, a lot of excitement. These ladies, these women, they've been working towards this goal their entire life, right? And that exuberation to get to that stage and, have the sparklers going off, the trophy. I mean, I can't imagine just how emotional that is, especially with your country on your shirt, right? There's a lot of pride there. So some controversy happened in the celebration as they were going through the line celebrating. And man, I don't know what's going on. It's advancing too fast on me today. Spanish government says that they need to take swift action because the president of the federation, right, just kissed one of the players as he was congratulating her. And there's a little bit of back and forth here. He said, she said, right?
Can I just point out something
usual.
that,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Superpower. So as a woman looking at this picture, I think one of the things he didn't just kiss her. Notice he's got both of his hands on her head. Like, where is she supposed to go? Like, how, if she's not comfortable with that, how is she dodging someone with a grip on her head?
And when you watch the video, it was about what, Ann? Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 seconds?
Yeah.
2 seconds from the time that he sees her, grabs her head, and plants the kiss. I mean, it wasn't like a long, drawn out conversation. And so the talk now is that he's saying that basically she asked for it because he made a comment like, a little bit, or she pulled him closer or something, and he was like a little bit. And then she said yes. I don't see, when you watch the video, where that conversation took place.
Me too. I don't
there
see him saying,
is a certain.
Did I kiss you? And her saying yes.
Right. There is a certain thing called consent, and I believe that that's a world function that we should all have, right? So this is very controversial, and it should be, right? So now there's a lot of things that have spawned out of this. The players union is saying that he needs to be punished, right? He's saying he's not going to step down. He's very adamant he did nothing wrong. She asked for it. She wanted this. She told me to do it, and she is now come out and said, I'm telling you that it didn't happen. I don't appreciate that my word is being questioned here. It was in front of all of you to see. I'm not hiding anything, right? So this is getting kind of ugly, and there's a lot of pressure that's building up on that Spanish soccer organization. Okay, here's a little video clip that's kind of frozen, but the now president of the football committee, who's not this guy, he's a different guy, Rafael de Amo, he's resigned. Says, what? Ultimately, it's my problem. I let this happen, so I'm gone. He's still Luis Rubiales is still saying he's not going to step down. So, Ann, I know you have started to really dive into this a little bit. We were talking a little bit before. The women have now come out and started to say that they are going to not play for the team, right? Do you want to kind of expand on the thoughts there a little bit for me?
Well, so Shireen Ahmed, who's a journalist here, a sports journalist here who covered the World Cup, is saying this could very well be the Me Too moment for women's sport. So if it were just this one moment, you might say, okay, lapse of judgment, but this is a coach who's had a stream of allegations against him in terms of, and weird stuff like that the women have to be in their hotel rooms with the lights off at a certain time, but with their doors open. And then he goes room to room and closes the door. Like, not that that's creepy.
Right.
So you look at that, you look at coaches in this league who have been accused of being rapists, who are going from position to position. it's really an important moment. Women's other women's soccer players are standing up in support of these women, and
Yep.
the thing is that unfortunately, as we know in Canada, given the pedophilia charges that have been rife in Hockey Canada against male
Mhm.
coaches and male players, this is not just a women's issue. This is an issue that of someone having power over an athlete or anyone and taking advantage of that power. And whether it's Larry Nasser in gymnastics, or whether it's Jim, you're going to remember who the name is of that coach in Canada in hockey, or this guy, this is about cleaning up the sport, making it safe
Mhm.
for everyone to play the sport, because this
Yeah.
kind of behavior, I mean, it changes the lives in a negative way for all the people involved in the sport, and it makes us say, like, should we be watching this, right? Should we be supporting it? Should we be saying, oh well, whatever, but I'm still going to watch the game?
Mhm.
Yeah. You said something in there about the behavior is a little bit extra than what the story is telling, right? This picture right here in front of you, that's not even the girl that he kissed, and he's still kissing her, right? And if you
And
watch
look
the
at that
lineup
mom.
as they come through, yeah, as you watch the lineup as they come through, every single one of them got something like this, right? Did they ask for that? There was a time where this may have been deemed endearing for somebody to congratulate somebody, but we don't live in that time anymore. And too many people have stepped over the line of appropriateness, right? There was a head coach for the North Carolina professional women's soccer team, the Courage, the North Carolina Courage. And he recently, I believe it was last year, just got fired and investigated for how he was treating the players at practices. He was courting them, saying that they'd get extra playing time if they would come and have like one-on-one meetings with him. And, you know, as a father of a daughter that plays the sport or sport in general, I, for one, I'm all about the best person for the job getting the job. But I think that there's something to be said that women's sports need to have more women leaders, because I don't know how men can tell a woman or a girl what it is that they're feeling and going through on the mental side of things. And that's just as important as anything physical that comes out of sport. So it's just unfortunate all the way around. I know that the players said that they are protesting, they're boycotting, they're not going to play any more international games until he's removed. And another big story that had come out was that a player on the men's side has now come out in support of them and said, I'm not playing any international games until he's removed. So we're starting to see it. A lot of these things take place and they'll stay with women, right? It's nice to see a man step up in support of them that's in the same kind of realm that they are, a soccer player for the country, right? And put himself out there in support of it. So I applaud that, because I think we need to do more stuff like that to help support.
And I want
This
to
story's
applaud
always
you.
changing.
Yeah, and I want to applaud you, because Shireen Ahmed was asking last night in Twitter, where are all the girl dads on this question?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Because is that the way you would want your daughter to be treated? I
No.
would think most people would say, no, that is not how I want my daughter to be treated.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. And I have to question sometimes. Just all right, I'll be honest. When it comes to my kids, I'm not very glass half full when I think about danger in their way, right? I'm very glass half empty. Like we've got to look over our shoulder. We've got to, pay attention to things. I'm always questioning people's intentions, things like that, right? I won't let my daughter go to the bathroom unless I can see the bathroom. She's 17 years old. I just we don't live in the same type of world. And when people can take advantage of people in a public format like this, what do you think they do behind closed doors?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's exactly what's their
I give a training to my team, and we talk about a lot of things. One of the things is act safely always. That's one of the terms that we use, and I kind of elaborate a little bit on that, because we all know what is right and what is wrong, but what truly dictates our character is what we do when nobody else is watching. And I imagine that all of these people that do this kind of thing, they don't care. They think they're going to get away with it. They think that they're above the law. So.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I said a little bit ago, this story is ever changing. You told me right as we were kicking off that the BBC just had some breaking news, right? And it looks like they have now suspended him, not fired, but suspended. So they've taken note of the players' anger, and they're stepping in. And correct me if I'm wrong here. This suspension will allow them to do a thorough investigation into the matter, so that they probably stay within legal parameters because of contracts and things. Do you think I'm onto something there, or?
Well, you guys know more about this than I do, but it's FIFA, Ryzak. It's
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
Yes, I chose violence today.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm here for it. Let me
mean,
get my pitchfork out.
The little I know about FIFA, I mean, thorough investigation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to talk about FIFA, because I will rant about the 10-year tax holiday they've been given for the few games they'll play in Canada next World Cup.
I mean, it's wonderful that they've done this. Where's the country federation?
Yeah. Excellent question.
I mean, this is an internal issue as far as I'm concerned, and it's one that's easily, fixable. So just somebody's got to step up and want to do it.
But to your point, this is a systems problem. So my question is not so much what I think this guy's going to get fired. And I think this guy may not have a job for a year or two.
I think he'll get a slap on the wrist, to be quite honest with you.
But I think this guy will work again in women's soccer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the question is not what's going to happen today. My question is 5 years from now, will anything have changed?
Yeah. What are you going to put into place to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Right. I live in a world of investigations, root cause analysis, trying to get to the root cause of a problem so we can stop it from happening again. And that's what's needed here, right? What are you going to implement? What rule are you going to put in place? What are you going to bring to the bargaining table with the players union to say, hey, we want to protect you and make sure this doesn't happen again? Because if I'm one of these women, that's the only way I'm coming back to play for you, is if you put something in there that gives me some protection. I need a layer of protection. Because if it happened once, it can happen again.
Out of Me Too, as I understand it, came in Hollywood the official adoption of intimacy coordinators. So like when there's a bedroom scene, that's all discussed with each of the people involved in the bedroom scene ahead of time, that there are certain safeguards they can put in place, that the intimacy coordinators on set, so that you have someone who can overrule the director, because that's been one of, not the only, but one of the problems in the sector. So there may be things similarly in soccer that, oh my goodness, thank you, Simply Pwned.
Yes, thank you.
There may be things similarly in women's sport and men's sport. Like, I need to say, this is also a men's issue, right? This is a person with power, and I bet you anything, there may be someone in the chat, or there may be someone otherwise, who's going to have an instance of a female coach sexually assaulting male players. Like 100% that is out there. So what are the safeguards you put in place? Because clearly what we have now isn't working.
Yeah. Well, if there is a silver lining from the team side of things, the competitive side of things, it's that the new FIFA world rankings have come out, and Spain's moved up to number 2. So they jumped like 5 spots, and they're the second ranked team in the world now. So that's got to be a little bittersweet, because where you want to celebrate that fact and you want to be proud of your accomplishments, now you got this hanging out there. So, and it always seems to be the case for women, Ann. Right when you get
this is positive for women's sport. I think this is positive for sport. Getting scumballs out of positions of power. Yeah. Like if I were Spain, I would be proud of being the women's team who said, you know what, as a team, we're not putting up with this shit. We are not playing another international match. Like I would be proud to have this as my legacy, because it's a small group who have won the Women's World Cup. It's a small
Mhm.
group who make it into one of these teams, but it's right now a group of one who have said that we're not putting up with this on the international stage in women's soccer.
Well,
Could I be cynical for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Only for a minute?
Well, yeah, about this.
57 seconds now.
There's a lot of money in World Cups. We know there's more money for men than for women's.
Do you know what the number was for the winners, Jim?
Was it $4 million?
It was $4.6 million for the women's team that won, and Argentina's men team won $43 million.
So at least double. But, I'm not good at math. The inability, or sorry, not inability, the lack of support that the Spanish players will now give to their victory. So the parades, the interviews, that money goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to cost the Spanish Federation a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the motivator, they will get their house in order.
It's always about money.
Yes. I think about the story of Olga Carmona. That should have been an amazing story. That should have been the top individual story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. It's about a dude doing dude things. And gross dude thing.
Yep.
And how do parents send their kids off to a sports camp for the summer, knowing that these predators, they're still out there?
Yep.
And there's
right?
money lost. There's money lost for the camps. I mean, it comes down to money. That will be the big motivator.
Well, especially when you listen to some of the stories you mentioned, and the Larry Nasser stuff, right? I mean, those girls, when they were telling their stories, I mean, it's like mortification, like to be alone in a room with a doctor, vulnerable, and have them doing things that they're telling you they're supposed to do. I mean, as a young adult that's trying to be on your national team, there's a lot of pressure there. There's not many spots. You've worked your life. I mean, who are you to question it in that moment if they're telling you that it's for something? I mean, I think about that. I think about the deception there, and it's disgusting. Quite frankly, it's disgusting. And there's a lot of stuff like that that's going on. And I like that you mentioned that the men deal with it too, because although I believe it is a very big problem for the women, I believe it's also equally a problem for the men. And we saw that with the Penn State stuff that came out, 20 years ago, whatever it was now.
Ohio State.
Yeah, absolutely. The hazing that goes on with players and things, there's sexual acts that they're told that they've got to perform. I mean, there's a lot of gruesome stuff that happens out there, but not to take away from where we started. I mean, the women go through this more than anything because of the voice and everything else that they're kind of constrained. So I'm just really glad to see that they're taking it to the level they are. They're not waiting. They're not tiptoeing. It wasn't like 2 weeks and now they're saying they're going to boycott. It was like, this is like decisions that they have talked about and they are grouping up together. So from the starter, the captain, all the way down to the last reserve, they're banding together. And I think that's what's really cool about this. Good to see the support.
That's also what we need, right?
Yep.
Because
if
you band together, then they could have just, this player, Jenny, they could have, she could have just been isolated off. And you can replace one player. It's going to be, you can't replace a whole team.
Yep. And thinking from the investigation side of things, like you look at that picture when that happened, there's other people that are there. Why aren't those people speaking up? Why didn't they hear something? Maybe they're not allowed to. There's a lot of things that can be going on still. So I hope that this winds up getting a good ending and a justifiable ending. But I do feel like it's going to drag out for a little bit, unfortunately. It just seems to be par for the course.
100%.
So,
yeah. And with video evidence, we shouldn't be debating it. We should.
We absolutely should not
believe our eyes.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and I don't know. I don't know too many women out there that are, looking to skis over a dude in the middle of a celebration and, say, yeah, touch me. No, I didn't tell him he could do that. I don't buy that story. So I don't know. We'll see. Thank you all for chatting on that one. I know that can get a little, intense, especially with me. So thank you. All right. I guess that is now, it's time to bring up, man, this is not working.
Post of the week.
Post of the week. There it is. And this week, this is near and dear to your hearts, seeing how it's north of my border. Do you want to tell me about this? Because I'm going to butcher it if I try to tell the story.
Who goes first on this one, Ann?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. So this is Chrystia Freeland. She is the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. That's an appointed job here. And she was visiting her home province of Alberta, and she was caught speeding. So I would say Trudeau is later in his term as a prime minister. An election will have to come up in the next couple of years. His popularity has decreased, and I think one of the things people do in politics is they pick someone that's associated with the person, and then they attack that person because it's a way of attacking the prime minister. I'm of the question, if you were going to attack Trudeau, why would you not attack him over the Minister of Transport? I had to write this down. Pablo
Hey, notes
Rodriguez.
are good.
So our Minister of Transport, Pablo Rodriguez, who was just appointed last month, who was charged with driving under the influence. His BMW, he couldn't park his BMW without crashing into the car in front of it. So if you're going to pick on, so to me, kind of harkening back to our previous point, I feel like here's a woman driver. And so if you're going to pick on the Trudeau, why would you not pick on the the transport minister with, accused of drunk driving as opposed to, so I feel there's sexism in how popular this story has been.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, are you on the same side of the story, or do you have a different view?
No, I'm on exactly the same side. We have a premier, so like a governor, who, as a drunk driver, killed someone. And it was not disclosed during elections. This is the kind of thing you'd think that the media would be all over. And this isn't an anti-media thing, but this is about how certain media have chosen to position this. So Chrystia Freeland is an interesting person. I wouldn't vote for her if I were in a riding, but that's a whole other issue. But she is an incredible person. She is detested by both Trump and Putin. She managed to piss them both off. And
pretty special person.
Well, that's what I think, right? She negotiated the latest round of free trade agreements with the United States and Mexico, and did that effectively. She has written about the klepto-capitalism as the Soviet Union declined, it disappeared, and Putin's Russia rose out of the ashes. Her crime is going 132 kilometers an hour.
32 over the speed limit, right?
Well, in Alberta, the maximum speed is 110. So she may have been going 22 kilometers over the limit.
Do you know what that is in miles per hour for our American folks?
Here are my notes.
Nice.
So that's 82 miles per hour in a 70 zone. Right?
Come on.
Yes. Exactly. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
None of us have ever done that. None of us have ever gone 82 in a 70 zone. We have no idea what this is like.
I may never have discovered that my Volkswagen Jetta stopped rattling when I went 166 in a 100 zone. I may never have discovered that.
Holy cow.
Um,
So she gets the speeding ticket, right? So
Yes.
let me ask you this, because I read a little bit of the story, enough to be able to have some talking points with you. And I guess where they're trying to spin this as being so wrong is that she was just recently interviewed and said that she didn't own a car,
Right.
and made points about how she walks around the city and her kids bike to school and this and that. And so people are now saying, oh, for somebody that doesn't own a car, she gets this speeding ticket. Could she have rented the car? Was it a government car?
100%.
Like, why is that such a big deal?
I'm guessing it's rental.
I would say it's a rental too. Like
Yeah.
I don't own a car either. I live in a city with pretty good mass transit. Not great, but pretty good. I walk everywhere, like same. But when my parents were living and I went to Ohio, I rented a car.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't imagine. My cousin got married this summer in rural Iowa. That there is not a bus from Omaha to where my cousin lives, right? Like there are places where you have to rent a car.
Purple Haze has a great question here
Yes,
for you
I
all.
saw that.
Says, is it easier or harder to piss off both Putin and Trump, or just piss off one of them while making the other happy?
I feel like that's a Jim question.
I-
Jim was a Soviet
Yeah.
studies major.
I think it would be harder to piss off one and not the other. But I'd like to see the set of circumstances where that would be possible.
What's the context, right?
I feel
That's-
I think they're each completely for themselves. So if there was something, it feels like if you did something that elevated one of them, but not the other one,
Ooh.
like if you, like if Putin didn't want, if Trump wanted a property, a Trump hotel,
Like play into the egos?
yeah,
Yes.
like play in the ego competition where somehow it was whatever. I feel like that but I think because I don't think they're all for one for all. I don't think Putin
No.
feels like, I don't think they are that kind of ride and die kind of connection.
Right.
There's some crazy stuff going on over there right now. I saw a video of his motorcade trying to get him back to Moscow, and there's like all kinds of stuff. I don't follow that as much. Like I try to leave foreign politics to people in their countries, but
That's Jim.
yeah.
Jim. That's what we have Jim here for.
I like it. I like it.
I want to draw the comparison to famous international leader criminals. So this week we saw a mugshot from the United States.
Yes, that's now a T-shirt, but highest selling T-shirt in the country.
Right, and I've seen the indictments, the range of mints that we can now purchase. Bolsonaro from Brazil, attempted coup, can't run until 2030. Italian Prime Minister Berlusconi, tax fraud 10 years ago. And now a senior Canadian politician speeding. What does the world come to? Has she no
Now,
pride?
She's an elected official. People elected her, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you elect the person, you put them in the post, and then something happens, they say something, they do something you don't like, and now they're the worst thing since sliced bread, but you voted them in there, right?
Well, I mean, the audacity to go 82 in a 70 zone.
Right.
Brutal.
Right.
She should not be able to drive ever again, let's be honest. But you've got a lot of other people that work for the city here, and this is a story that I know you feel very strongly about. So these are city workers that are getting traffic violations from the cameras that have been installed all over the city, and they're going unpaid.
City workers driving city vehicles, because I'm sure this is true anywhere. You work for the city, and your job may be whatever, fire inspection. It may be, a site inspection for daycares.
A maintenance worker.
Maintenance worker. It may be all kinds of things, right? And it was something like $85,000 worth of fines. And the city paid the fines and then went back to the employees driving the city cars. and they'd only recovered 20,000 of it. And this was while we had a conservative mayor in office. So
And
I
wasn't it about 80,000? Is that what the total?
85, yeah, something like that.
85?
Crazy, crazy. So that was just my point about, like, why a news story about some, speed racer politician. And I would think in most cities you'd say, wow, $85,000 seems like a lot of money to me. Like, where's my
How does that go unnoticed on the books? Because I guarantee you, if you have a $245 ticket and you don't pay it for 6 months, you're going to have everybody and their mom hunting you down trying to get that $245. So
I'm trying to understand why, if it's a city car, the city doesn't say to you, thank you so much. Give me your car keys. You're suspended without pay until you pay the $245.
So I looked into that a little bit because that's kind of my realm again, right? I deal with mobile engineers that are out in vans, and I looked into that for a few different states and companies. And a lot of their fine print, let's call it fine print, says that if a employee using a vehicle, person running the books has the most speeding tickets. Probably.
Right.
I liked her comment before that. It's about Trump and Putin. Maybe do a hand size grabbing a water bottle competition picture. That was a good one.
Or shirtless on a horse.
Yeah.
Right. So if an employee is driving a company-owned, government-owned vehicle and they get a speeding ticket in there should be like a 3-strike rule, right? But also the employee has to pay for that ticket. The employee is the one that has to go to court and get the points or whatever happens, right? And so as I'm reading through a lot of these different things, and my own company is included, right? There's kind of like a 3-strike process. You're going to get the write-up, right? You're going to get the verbal warning and a little bit of extra attention. And then the third one is a suspension, right? That's I think on the generous side when you talk about things like this, because one of the things I talk about with my team is you're in a weapon, right? And you're out there on the road every day with people, and you have your name on the side of the van, and whatever you're doing can quickly come back to everybody. Why would you even want to go through that? Why would you even want that to have to ruin your day? And with as crazy as everybody is out on the road, since I think everybody got taken off of the road, it's a struggle getting from point A to point B sometimes. But I don't understand why these city employees are not being held responsible on their own accord. Why does the city have to pay all these fines?
Why not just dock their paychecks? I mean, that seems like, it's like, oh, look, you like anything, right? Like, dock my pay.
Yeah. So I don't think that those employees should go unpunished by any means. You're in the vehicle, you broke the law, you pay the fine.
Yeah.
But then the company's insurance goes up. So
I have a little bit of a different view of this. So in Ontario, with our red light cams, and before that when we had photo radar, the absolute liability belonged to the vehicle, because you can't prove who's
driving
vehicle. In the case of a city, they know who's driving.
Especially with numbers on the vehicles, they're assetted, they're inventoried.
Right.
Well, the other thing is if it's a city vehicle on city time, then you better be the one driving the vehicle assigned to you. Otherwise, you have a lot of splaining to do.
What about a city vehicle after hours?
Interesting question.
Because I know with my guys, they get to take their vans home.
Right.
But I think you would still be responsible for it. Like, you're the
one. I do as well. You're still in that vehicle. You're not supposed to be using it for your personal use. It's supposed to be work use only. So I wonder about that, if any of these violations were in the I'm off the clock, but I'm trying to get somewhere else.
Like Anne, I don't own a car. Is this blasphemous? You've got 2 people on the panel who don't own cars?
No. I just ordered an electric bike. I'm about to sell mine too.
Okay. I belong to a car share. Okay. And if I go through a red light cam, the car share knows who is driving, and they'll add it to my bill.
Yeah.
At some point, city governments, employers are going to demand the ability to bill employees directly for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be a consequence.
Mhm.
You have to be held accountable for your actions, whether you're using a company vehicle, a government vehicle, or your own personal vehicle. I mean, it wouldn't be any different if I was in my own car. So why is it different because I'm in somebody else's? I'm still the driver, right?
Yes.
So,
And to loop it back to
interesting.
the deputy prime minister, she paid her speeding ticket.
Yes.
All $273.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Which is about 28 cents in US dollars. Just, just so
Ah, yes. I hear that conversion rate is quite intense these days.
brutal. Brutal.
Oh, well, this is good. It's nice to know from my side of things that at least our country isn't always the craziest one, and
We had Rob Ford as mayor here in Toronto.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
And his character ended up in a Sharknado movie. So
we should have talked about the hurricane. That was a big thing. I didn't even know there could be a hurricane. God, so many opportunities missed. I really wish I would have taken advantage of this. Oh, well.
Only so much time.
Yeah, we got a couple more things we need to run through real quick. This first one, I know you all might not know who this is, but I don't necessarily want to point out the football of this. This is a picture that was going around X, and it shows two players on the Cleveland Browns, one of them being literally half the size of another one, right? And, I really like this feature about readers adding context to some of these posts because there's a lot of fake, there's a lot of fabricated things, a lot of Photoshop. And it says right there, the image is Photoshopped. Here's the original photo. Well, here's the original photo. And you can see he is still a much smaller player to the one on the right, but he comes up to about his shoulder, where in this picture they show him to about his waist. So he is a little bit different, but it's not accurate. So as two individuals that have used Twitter in the past and get on social media, do you like the readers being able to add context, kind of like a Wikipedia feature?
I love it.
Yeah,
I do. I also want to note that I don't recognize X as the name for Twitter.
I know. I'm trying to stay current, but it's hard. I still call them tweets, even though they're posts. So
no, they're tweets. They're tweets.
Rue Diggs meets the cowboy. That's hilarious, Will. So I think that where there's a lot of things that are negative about the platform and what's going on with it, I do think that this is a bright spot. And so I kind of wanted to highlight that and show that, we can kind of weed out some of these fake things, these fake stories.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see people link to an actual academic study at these things. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. When you're talking stats and when you're talking, anything that needs to be proven with factual data, absolutely give it to me. Yeah. The West Coast saw a lot of rain in the past week with the hurricane that moved up and then the tropical depression that kind of formed off of that. In Las Vegas, Harrah's, which is, pretty well-known casino name, their ceiling started collapsing. This video was about 2:00 in the morning on Wednesday. The rain was just pouring in through the ceilings. And so unfortunate, right? But my thought in this wants to go to kind of like an infrastructure side of things, because our former president, Donald Trump, right? He had said aging infrastructure in America, bridges, roadways, airports, this and that. I know that when I was abroad in England and Ireland, there's a lot of historic buildings that have had some modifications done to them over time, but they're not maybe to code, or they're not maybe the safest they could be. So how about Canada? Do you all have an aging infrastructure as well?
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a Harris question, though, because is this because you know about this stuff. Is this aging infrastructure, or is this like Las Vegas is in a desert? Would it have been reasonable, even if Harrah's had just been built yesterday, would it have been reasonable for them to have engineered against this amount of torrential rain?
Yeah, so it's a good question, right? Because whenever there's heavy rain and it's been dry for a long time, you're going to see a lot of flooding and things of that nature. Knowing building inspections the way that I do, I would find it safe to say that the city of Las Vegas probably runs a pretty tight ship when it comes to building inspections, annual inspections, fire inspections, things of that nature. But what I will say from my time in hotels is that just because those things get pointed out does not mean that they are going to get fixed right away. So I think that if we dug into this story a little bit more, if we had access to that data, we could probably find very quickly if there was anything that was brought up on an inspection for this building, when it happened, and what had been done in the meantime to try to remediate that problem. I think we would find that the hotel owners did not do the work that was necessary, and that's really what has caused this, which
Okay, but
may not be about the aging infrastructure, but overall the mentality of building owners,
but
not wanting to invest.
I have a different question.
Okay.
Not a maintenance question, which is a fair point. My question is, we built, like, Las Vegas is in the middle of a desert.
Mm-hmm.
Palm Desert, like in Southern California, there are buildings and they're built in places that are in the middle of a desert.
Mm-hmm.
So they are places that get, you look at the forecast for how much water this area gets in a given year, and it's tiny, right? Like, it may rain, whatever. It may rain. It's part of the reason why it's a
Annual rainfall is less than everywhere else.
Exactly, like by a really small amount. So my question is when the buildings were built in the very first place, were they built for desert conditions? Like, I would not expect, as an example, I would not expect those buildings to do well in Las Vegas against the kind of snow we get here in Toronto, right? Like that, because they don't get that kind of snow. So my question is, were the buildings, like, is this a global warming problem? Because these buildings were built originally for desert conditions, and the kind of weather they had is not a desert condition at all. So
Right.
even if they were properly maintained and properly everything, they still would have had a problem.
I guess the only thing that I would be able to say to try to answer you, Anne, is that whenever this Harrah's building was built, let's just say it was in the 70s, right? The engineers probably did studies, and they probably designed, to your point, for the things that they were experiencing then. And over time, over the years, upgrades, updates have maybe needed to happen and maybe haven't. And, we are starting to see a lot of these global warming conversations pick up speed with a lot of the recent hurricane activity. You talk earthquakes, the fires, right? The fires are the big one right now. So I don't think that these buildings were probably designed or engineered to handle all of these different types of events. But I do think that they've probably been told about the things that they need to change. And I feel like they have not pushed forward on that because, and again, just my experience working hotels, I did for quite a while. We want you to see things that are nice. We don't want you to see on the inside, right? So if I can put $20,000 into a granite countertop that you're going to see when you check in, I'd rather do that than spend $1,000 fixing the piping in the wall that could leak in 2 months because you don't see that, right?
So, and we'll just change rooms for you if your pipe leaks.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh no, we'll fix that. No worries.
We'll
put some paint on it. Get the next person there.
Upgrade you to a different room.
Yeah, and it's the same room, just on a different floor, so it makes you feel like you're upgraded.
Right. And could I get a free breakfast?
Yeah. What can you get out of it, Jim?
Yeah. The issue of infrastructure, I think it's global.
Yeah.
There are some countries that are building things so quickly, they've developed so quickly, they don't get a chance to see how their infrastructure will do 20 or 30 years down the road yet. In my city, every year at budget time, we have a number associated with an infrastructure deficit. So how much do we get taxed to eat into that deficit?
Yeah.
And we never do. the deficit grows every year. Jeff and I live in the same city, and we get up and down the mountain in a couple of different routes. One of them has been crumbling for about 5 years. It's now closed. About 5 years before it was closed, 5 years before it started crumbling, the city said we should do some, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a political issue.
Mm-hmm.
Will we tax?
And again, it's a money issue, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's what makes it a political issue. Because
Exactly.
where's the funding coming from, and what are we doing
Right.
with that funding, et cetera?
Right.
Yeah.
And in our city, and in many Canadian cities, and I'm going to be specific about that because I don't know about development charges and land fees in American cities.
Mm-hmm.
But in Canadian cities, we expect to grow the city out to help pay for new infrastructure. We're never getting caught up on the old bridges and the old roads.
Yep. But I tell you what, y'all can grab money, and we can grab money to build a new stadium, can't we? Hell yeah. Because that helps drive the economy. Let's forget
Yes.
the bridge that we
Well,
need to get to the stadium.
Yes.
It helps drive the economy, except for, as Jim pointed out, the tax holidays that,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we're not actually seeing much of that. Maybe if you're the hot dog stand, you are, but
Mhm.
bar
Right.
next door.
Well,
So what
it's
we
always
need is
interesting talking.
sponsored bridges.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. I think they just
See.
need to, maybe try to re-engineer the way that they do these things. We're still building things the same way that we've been building them, and we see that they fail after so many years. So we haven't re-engineered something yet. Like, don't we have engineers? I don't know. All right.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I'll move you along. So this is a story that Jeff had dropped in with me. Amazon has had talks with Disney on a new ESPN streaming service, right? ESPN, the big sports conglomerate around here. They're saying that the cost could be about $20 to $35 a month. And what I don't know is, does that loop in Disney Plus with ESPN, also with Amazon Prime? If you're getting a three-headed monster, $20 to $35 seems like a good deal, right? But when we look at some of the subscription packages on these services across the board, that's much higher, significantly higher than what we're seeing with some of the other ones. Where I wanted to take this story with you all is, do you pay for streaming services now? And when is enough enough?
Okay. So I'll just remind you again that you clearly didn't listen to the edition with Jim and I with Jeff.
Uh-oh. She said, clearly listen.
Wow.
I'm just going to say, the question I have, like, the actors and the writers are on strike now because they're getting jack shit from streaming services. So the question I have is it $20 or $35 a month because they're going to start paying people more than a penny in residuals for their shows? Like, they're making these record profits. Are they going to pay, those actors 80% of the actors who can't make something? It's like something crazy, like they don't make $20,000 or $30,000 a year. Like, is any of this going to go to any of them? To me, that's the question about this.
It's a great point.
And in this case, with a sports network, there's no talent to pay, or very few people to pay in front
You're
of the
paying for the
camera.
rights, right?
Right. Yeah. So this seems like a license to print money. To your point about how many streaming services are enough, I have one, Disney Plus. I would certainly like to get more, but then it becomes, I missed this one show on that streaming service.
Yeah.
Now I need to get that one. And suddenly cable looks cheap in comparison. I wouldn't get everything I want, but a lot of shows in Canada, or sorry, a lot of American shows that are on streaming services are on cable in Canada.
Okay.
So I could watch Picard on cable. I don't have to get the Paramount Plus. I don't have to get HBO Max, Discovery, Warner Plus, whatever it's called today. But the question of how many will become the price comparison in the future. Sorry, it's no longer a cup of coffee a day; it's a case of beer a day.
Mm-hmm.
Canadian beer, it's more expensive.
And higher
but-
quality.
Yeah, well, let's not go there. It's early in the day. But who gets the benefits, as Anne's point, and now Purple Haze's comment? Who
Yeah, she says, I see
benefits-
how this benefits Disney, but why wouldn't Amazon just not negotiate the streaming rights with the sports leagues themselves? And I think
Right.
that, they're doing the Thursday night football now. They've got the football telecast, and they've tried to do some live events as they've gone along with some other things as well. So yeah, why wouldn't they go and do that and just talk right there and take it? And only thing that I could think is that they're just there's been some things going on with Disney in the news here for a while, right? Is this maybe them trying to link up with Amazon to kind of get some of that power back? And Amazon is just gobbling things up as they can. Maybe there's another thing down the line that they see this could benefit them with. We've talked about ESPN wanting to have just like the one conglomerate sports channel, like it's a one-stop shop. You're going to go to ESPN for everything. Well, what does Amazon offer that? A lot. Right? They offer a lot of stuff to be able to pull into a one-stop shop. So
Yes.
Well, and I
It's,
also think you have to look at, if I'm Amazon, I mean, they're big and they're very diversified, but there may come a point where they feel like we're a little too diversified.
Sure.
And, there's a lot of, companies don't last, Disney has lasted like 100 years now.
Yeah.
And, a lot of companies, seems to be this new situation where companies may last 20 or 30. So if I'm Amazon, I may say, you know what? This is, Disney is really core entertainment. It's the core of their business. Maybe if I can partner with them, I can partner with ESPN. I can work on exploiting my warehouse workers and focus on that as my business.
Yeah.
And let.
There's also studios too that Amazon owns, right? Doesn't Amazon own a couple of production studios? They have their game studio. So maybe there's some value in that as well. Just the different, like you said, the different pieces that they are bringing to the table. I don't know how I feel about all these streaming services and having all these recurring monthly charges. It's one of the reasons why I don't get into GFN to talk gaming a little bit, because I got to pay for the service for GFN and then possibly pay for Ubisoft Plus and possibly pay for this one over here. It's like I can only play one game at a time. Why do I want all this ability that I never utilize, right? That's just my use case. I mean, that's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that play all day, every day. But it just seems over cumbersome.
Because there's this binging opportunity. I'm more of a okay, there's something coming up on Netflix that I want. Okay, I'm going to kind of wait, save up. I've got, let's say, 3 or 4 things I want to binge. Like when Stranger Things comes out, I will wait. I'll binge.
You can subscribe for the time to watch, and then
I'll binge Stranger Things. I'll binge whatever whatever the last Bridgerton, I'll kind of binge that. And then, a month and, maybe I forget. So maybe I have it for a couple of months, but then I just cancel again. Right. To me,
and when you do it that way, that entertainment value makes more sense, because if you're paying, say, $20 for that month and you're getting all that entertainment out of it, that's just as cheap as going to the movies for one movie.
Yeah.
So that's smart, Ann.
Thing for January, right? Like it's an excellent thing to do in January. Subscribe for January.
When you have that time to just bunker down.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so warm outside in Canada.
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful that time of year.
Yeah.
Hey, I like the cold. So
Jeff and Jim are frequently barefoot in the months of January and February, and they post videos
This is a weird relationship I've noticed. So, the
it's
Feet
weird
brothers.
that they're barefoot. Yeah, well, this is just promo for their foot finders.
The Feet finders.
Yes, yes. The winter edition.
Oh
That's
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hey, I don't know if you saw this or if this is news up your way, but Zillow, a real estate company, they have an app. They're offering 1% down payments to try to lure home buyers in as interest rates are seeing a 22-year spike. I remember the recession that we had in 08 because I bought a house in 2005 and I was flipped upside down by the time we got to 2008 because I was a young guy. I was 23. They saw me come in, from a mile away. They offered me what I thought was a great deal at the time. Oh, we're going to get you in this loan, but then you're going to have to go ahead and refinance in a year and get that knocked down, restructured. Yeah, no problem. I'll be able to do that. And I was 10 days late on my car payment, which put a black mark on my credit report, and they wouldn't let me refinance. And then it wound up screwing me up, right? Because it was an ARM loan. So the payment just kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. I've heard a lot of back and forth about, kind of rates and the economy. If you pay attention to stocks and things like that, there's always chaos going on there. But this doesn't seem like a very good idea to me because even though you may not have the cash up front and that helps you, you may not have the means to pay on the backside. You're setting yourself up for any kind of failure. Do you all have anything like this going on in Canada? Is this up? Do you know if this is a thing there for you as well?
We're a little bit more regulated.
Yeah,
Okay.
That was literally the sentence I was about to say.
So companies like this aren't allowed to go out and offer their own thing. It has to come from a centralized agreement.
Our banking system is much more tightly regulated. So we experienced the 2008 just because it hit the world economy, but we did not have the banks and I don't believe we have savings and loans. We have co-ops. We did not experience the crash due to there being just no money in the system in the way that you did in the U.S. because our banking system is tightly regulated.
Right.
Okay.
And I know that with such certainty because I was doing my MBA, and in 2007, my professor was like, "We should just merge with the U.S. banking system. We're overregulated." And I've always wanted to send a letter to the place where I got my MBA and demand that my B+ in that class be raised by an A because I kept raising my hand and saying we didn't want to merge with the American banking regulatory system.
So there are other tools at work in Canada. So if you want to have an insured mortgage, oh yes, I don't see anything to sacrifice here to help you with the housing purchase, but I would. There was a rabbit in my yard earlier. Anyhow, no, I've offended vegans.
You crucify the rabbit.
Right. Well, if it helps get someone a house,
you might need to because what I was going to say is 1% sounds great, but the cost of the housing is so high that 1% is still the same cost as the 3%. So it's not,
Yeah.
So to get an insurance, I'm sorry, Anne.
No, I just the median house in the city where I live is $1.2 million. So they are saying that
big baller.
You need to have a household income of $600,000. And I am telling you right now, although I make a generous income, there is no universe where I could own the house I own now. And I exactly how do you pay your mortgage payments? And then I cut you off, Jim, as I am commonly want to do on insurance.
Well,
so carry on.
You always make a better point, Anne. Why would I be upset that you're adding better points? So we have an organization called Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation. It's a Crown corporation, which is a government funded corporation. So like your FDIC. And they will allow a 5% down payment. To get insurance, to make sure that you can satisfy the banks, you need to have typically a much higher down payment. So 20% or 25. But what the banks in Canada have done is extend the length of mortgages. So 10 years used to be common. There are banks that are offering 30 and 40-year mortgages. So that's the escape valve or the pressure release valve to buy a house, is a longer mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at I went a few years ago. I went to go to San Francisco, and I stayed in an Airbnb, and I can't remember why I know this other than I'm nerdy. And there were 10 people who owned the house I stayed in.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So so all I can think is like that's a direction that's gonna to head,
Mhm.
right? Where
Mm-hmm.
I guess everybody in the family gathers together to buy an investment property, and then
The
I don't
American
know,
dream.
and then but you keep buying. I don't know if it's to the point, or if you all put your money together until the 10 of you can own 10 properties, and then somehow, but it feels really complicated, right?
I tend to just sign an IOU, just put it in a lunchbox and then,
What could go wrong?
I'll get to
Look,
it.
families are always great with money.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They always agree.
Always
Yes.
agree, always think it's fair, for sure.
Yep.
And there's never anything else that more important that comes up. So
Nope.
No,
Never.
no.
Purple Haze had a
there's
comment
never-
for you, Anne. I don't know if you saw it. It says,
Well-
did you just mention grades with an MBA? Here I was thinking my MBA was all about parties, networking, and finding a job.
Well, I will say, Purple Haze, I did my MBA in my 40s and 50s when I had, at the start, fairly young kids. And because I was divorced, I majored in Tuesday and Thursday nights because that's when the kids were with their dads. So, but I didn't. I was mostly on the hour and a half bus ride to get to night school. So not a lot of parties.
Bless you. Oh, that's some commitment, Anne. That is some
Yes.
commitment.
Yes.
I applaud you.
I did have an employee at the time who was telling me, who was older than me, and he just changed to our profession, and he was telling me that he knew everything he needed to know about our profession, even though he'd only worked in our profession for 2 months, because he came from a similar industry, come from banking,
Yeah.
so he knew enough about what we were doing. And he kept telling me he didn't need to learn anything more. And I looked at him and said, I spend 3 hours on a bus every Tuesday to get my MBA because I feel like I still need to learn more. But you feel free to tell me that you know everything you need to know. And shockingly, he didn't last very long.
Go figure. I think Purple Haze is setting up future Shades of Purple episodes on our chat right now, which I applaud. So
I'm in.
you might have to get together and talk MBAs. So we've got another story here. Jim, this one was one that was very near and dear to your heart. I'm going to let you take it.
After a gazillion years of not understanding what Americans meant when they said tissue, because we all called it Kleenex, Kimberly Clark is leaving Canada, and they're taking their Kleenex with them.
Yeah, it's a full divorce. This is not a joint custody arrangement. This is a full on taking their Kleenex.
This has to be because of an issue at a government level, right?
Nope.
No.
Jim, you did more Googling than me.
Well,
I'm trying to set you up.
How do I put this delicately? The company has said the complexities of the Canadian marketplace. One of them is access to pulp and paper. Voltaire once said about Canada, we're hewers of wood, and drawers of water. Hewers spelled Hewers. And I spelled it that slowly so Jeff could do the editing properly.
I love it.
But
Sounded like you were saying Morse code.
well, oh my gosh, now I have to find that. So there are lots of reasons. People are glomming on to their favorite public policy that they hate.
Yeah.
And one that comes up a lot is the carbon tax. So many US states have a cap and trade to deal with carbon capture and carbon offset. In Canada, we charge a tax. And what happens is the majority of Canadians, I swear I'm ditching the headphones next time. The majority of Canadians get more money back than they pay in carbon tax.
Okay.
Companies pay more in carbon taxes than they receive. So that may be part of what Kimberly Clark says is complexity of Canada. It may be that lower price alternatives are forcing them out of the marketplace too. But we know that there are lots of conspiracy theories about this.
So when we have a snowstorm or
Yes.
when COVID hit, we ran to the grocery store and bought all the toilet paper and all the milk and, you know, all the stuff that, you know, we're going to need for staying in our homes for 1 or 2 days. Is everybody rushing to the stores and buying up as much Kleenex as possible because this is the brand that they like? You're just stockpiling Kleenex now?
I think we'll see a lot of these on eBay.
Ah.
I can't think of the last time.
Under gingerheaddad at ebay.com.
Yeah, exactly. Along with my duplicate Skylander. I can't think of the last time.
Buy a Kleenex, get a portal.
Exactly. You know, 2 boxes.
Jeff says he buys the cheapest. Jeff, that's 2 for $3. Come on, man.
Well, Jeff's parents also had the strategic reserve of toilet paper in their basement for years.
Yes, they did.
Jeff told me they just used to take the newspaper every day and crumble it up and just put it in the corner until the next day and then, you know, use that.
That's what they told Jeff.
Oh.
I think a big issue is that Canadians are value conscious. It's why Walmart took off like gangbusters when they arrived.
Yeah.
We like cheap stuff.
Yeah, frugal. Let's call it frugal. You know, my wife is very frugal. We live a very frugal life. And it bothers me because I grew up on name brand, right? I mean, I just did. And I do feel that there is a difference between name brand and the non-name brands, but the non-name brands work just as good. And it's something I'm throwing away. What does it matter, right? You know, it does the job. That's what I need it to do.
It's not just you're throwing away, you're soiling it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With my DNA.
Yeah.
Listen, there's only a
TMI.
7-year statute of limitations on crimes here in Canada, just like there is there.
Wow. Well, it's sad. I think it's sad anytime you see a big company leaving an area, right? This isn't going to be helpful to the economy.
Canada's never sad to see an American company leave which
Snap.
Which allows a Canadian company to expand. So there are Canadian companies fully capable.
What's the Canadian brand that's like the high brand?
Scott's, evidently.
Is it the Canadian Tire brand?
Oh. That would be Frank.
It was a
Frank
shot at
is-
Jeff.
Frank is their house brand.
Frank. Okay.
Yes.
Is that with a C or a K?
That would be with a K.
Okay.
Except
so
maybe
the
in
name.
Quebec it's with a C.
Or a QUE.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, yeah. Frank.
Yes.
Got it.
I'm still not over Target leaving.
Well,
Mm.
that's because they really, anyway.
Show's gonna go a whole nother hour if we don't move on.
Yeah. I've got a dog downstairs crossing his legs, but I hope my daughter's let out into the backyard.
Well, hey, if Ray is still here, sad news out of the wrestling
very sad.
world. 36 years of age, Bray Wyatt. That is a tough one to swallow. So you never want to see anybody lose their life, too early like that. And then a Hall of Famer there, Terry Funk. Look at that, 44 to 23. That's a heck of a life, isn't it? So he passed as well. It's never enough, is it? No. But I think about from 44 to 23, all the different things that he was a part of and saw. That's a pretty interesting life there. So rest in peace to both of them. And sadly, I think they did a thing last night on the show. I think they did some sort of montage or something. So I didn't check it out. But all right. This is going to take us into our 5 guest time, and you all are apparently giving me the hardest one ever today. So I'm going to enjoy looking like an idiot here. Let's do it.
Okay,
I guess I need to help Jeff out with the editing first. Okay, so let me start by saying it's now time for 5 guesses.
So
all right, he should have enough time to clip.
What a great driver you are, Ryzak. So given your great online driving skills, we wanted to ask you, and we're going to be very generous on dates because there's more than one possible date you could say, and we'll accept any of them.
Okay.
When was the first electric car invented?
I have to get like a month, day, and year date?
No, just a year.
Nope.
Just a year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When was the first electric car made? I'm going to think that this was probably sometime in the 80s, so like 1984.
I'm going to give you your second clue.
Okay.
It was, I'm going to give you a musical clue.
Oh.
20 years after this. Da 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 dun da.
Boom.
Da 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 dun da.
Boom.
Da 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 dun dun da.
Boom.
Da 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 dun dun da.
Boom.
Dun. Okay, 20 years after that.
20 years after that. Wow. Love that song, by the way, and I thought that you all performed it very, very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know the name of the song or who does it, but I'm gonna go here with how about 1966?
Okay. How about Jim? Shall we go with states admitted to the union?
Yeah, I think that might be good.
Okay. For the most recent date we would accept, these states were admitted to the union in this year: North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington. Thank you.
Okay. So I think now we have to go into another century altogether. So I'm going to say 1885.
Oh, you got a lot warmer.
Yes.
A lot warmer. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The last date we're going to accept, we're on 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is 4th. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you a possibly good clue.
Okay.
The last, the person who was the U.S. president during this time was William McKinley.
Okay. Don't know him. Lincoln, Civil War. There was some stuff in there about a gold rush. There were like some railroads that were being done. McKinley. Who the heck was McKinley? How about I'll go a little higher. How about 1891?
You're very, very warm.
Oh, okay.
Very warm.
Can we acknowledge Purple Haze comment about the Dakotas?
Yeah,
well,
I don't.
Carolina gets 2 states too. We got a north and south.
Yeah, I don't. I think that. I think Carolina may have been a slave state thing.
You've also got a Virginia and a West Virginia. And there's a Mexico and a New Mexico. All right, that might be a stretch.
Now you're reaching.
Okay, so I'm at 1891 on my 4th guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
I may have misled you on president, but it's
rigged.
It's still the right era.
Okay.
So we've got the bookends.
Okay.
We're narrowing it down.
Yes, we are. The first electric vehicle was made in. Am I getting another clue or am I giving you my last guess? I'm sorry.
I think you're giving us your last guess because you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I am going to go with the wonderful year of 1895. Final answer.
And do you have the buzzer?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I believe the buzzer goes.
Right. Right.
Oh, dang.
But thanks for playing.
18... Jim?
Oh, no, you, Ann. This is yours.
Okay, wow.
I've got the city. You've got the year.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, we gave you 3 options.
Yeah.
So the 3 options were 1832, 1870, or 1889.
Oh, so 89 is the year because I was so close with 91.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's because when cars were first built, it was a real question whether they were going to be electric or whether they were going to be gas. Like electric cars were a very real possibility in the early day of cars.
In New York City in 1900, 1/3 of all vehicles were electric.
Because of the hand crank and the stored energy?
Excellent. So the starter, the rather than the crank, so the electric starter revolutionized internal combustion engine cars.
I mean, you think about it, even your gasoline cars have electric start, right?
Yep.
So essentially cars have been electric for a long time and we don't think about it that way. So this was awesome. This was awesome. I didn't know that I was going to get a history lesson today.
Well,
For bonus points, sorry, Ed.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
For bonus points, where was the first American electric vehicle manufactured?
Didn't you just say New York?
No, I did say New York, but that's not what the answer is. Yes.
So I mean, was it Detroit? Was it with the Fords?
Uh-uh.
No. Okay.
Oh, Anne is putting you out of your misery early. Des Moines.
Des Moines, Iowa. Who was the manufacturer? Do you know?
Was it Morrison? Yeah, interesting location.
Well,
right.
but
Because I would just imagine that's either a project or another person that had some sort of production line, right?
But
Right.
cities, if you think about in that era, like cities like the big cities weren't as big as they are now, and the small, you know what I mean? Like Des Moines, Iowa, New York City wasn't as oversized and gigantic as it is now. Los Angeles was just a wide spot in the road, right? Like Chicago was a big a big city, but they, like, you know, in proportional terms, it wasn't quite the same.
Right. Huh.
I'm trying to look at
You know, that area, that Iowa, Ohio, kind of like that Mid-Eastern Valley area.
Mhm.
There's a lot of production that's come out of there that I don't think many people know about. Indiana, as
William
well.
Morrison.
William
Okay.
Morrison. Okay, I'll have to look up that one. I really like the idea of the electric cars and the possibilities that we can do going forward. I actually had one of the new Chevy Silverado trucks ordered. I still have it reserved, but I'm having second thoughts only because, you know, we're talking about the heat and the cold and the impact that has on the batteries. And I live in the South. I mean, it gets, 100+ degrees here at times. Is that going to cut in half my mileage or, impact my battery? And I don't know if I'm ready to buy into that until I get a little bit more comfortable with that solution or how they work. So, because it's an investment, right? I mean, you're having to put a charger, the car, the whole nine. So,
So
Big
Ann
deal.
and Jim, that was awesome. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff, I hope you can clip that when you get to it and make a good one of that. He, of course, is kind of pushing some buttons for us today, so we appreciate his help as he's on the mend. I hope that you all enjoyed your time with me today, and I didn't let you down since
Hey,
you had
Bruce.
hyped it up so much.
That would be my son in the background.
Nice.
Yes.
Come on in. It's a party.
Thanks, Purple Haze. Yeah, we were going to accept either 1832, 1870, or the final answer.
Yeah, I didn't pay
Because
attention to
each of
music
those
composition
could be-
class, so I would not have got 1812 Overture. But I'm
Yes.
glad Purple Haze did.
When you asked who wrote it, my answer is going to be a dead Russian.
Yeah, but isn't that the
Yes.
answer to everything?
Pretty much. It would be a dead Russian who did not fall out of the first floor window.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I have to say that you all stepped up for Jeff when I was out. You all had a good show, and for calling me out for not watching every second of that episode. And I thought we were friends, but I'll let it slide because you impressed the crap out of me on the last show when you dropped the F-bomb. I was totally taken back by that, and I thought you were awesome then, and I think you're awesome now.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Hopefully we were less boring this time.
Oh no, I think it's always good to kind of branch out and get some different topics. And I know Jeff and I, because of our passions, we can tend to stay sport heavy, right, or sensitive playing. But I do like to talk about other things too. So it was a great chance to do that with the two of you because you bring a lot of knowledge and experience to the table in some of the things we talked about. So thank you very, very much for spending this Saturday morning with me, even though I know we've gone over and you both probably have stuff to do. So is there anything coming up for either of you or for your streamers?
Isn't Super Saturday Spectacular next Saturday?
That's right. Next Saturday. There
Okay.
may be a Disney Infinity stream because Oliver doesn't like Disney Infinity. It may be a solo stream.
Okay.
So that would be the less spectacular, less super.
Will it be adequate? That's the only thing Jeff will want to know.
It's what I aspire to.
Somewhat
Jeff standards.
adequate.
Yes. Adequate to the max. That's my motto. Adequate to the max.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
and,
If you have the link to the stream, pop it in the chat or let us know and we'll tweet it out for you. Or post it out, exit out, whatever you want to call it.
I'm just realizing this moment as people were chatting, I'm just seeing, we had access to the chat all along. Sorry about that.
Wait a minute. Oh, is that why that little circle saying 86 is up there? Okay.
Yes.
And my fabulous Fierce Sun Atmospheres is streaming probably today. He usually streams on Saturdays around 2.
Awesome.
Usually, but you can find him under Atmos_Fierce. And the only time I stream is when I'm lucky enough to be with some combination of Jeff, Jim, and Ryzak, which I am always happy. And
the dream team, right? The dream team. Well, hey, I want to give a special shout out to Simply Pwned Gaming. Will, he's getting ready to go take care of some things for his health next week. I know there's a lot of concern and worry, as there should be. So just want to say our thoughts are with him and Miss Sierra Rose, as she has to sit there and wait. She gets the hard job. He gets to go to sleep, and she has to sit there and wait and worry. So if you think about it on Monday, send a nice, lovely message to them, letting them know you're thinking about them, everyone. And outside of that, enjoy your weekend, because I know it's nice here. Hopefully it's nice where you are. Jim, you're outside. It looks like it's nice.
Oh my gosh, it's always nice on my deck.
Yeah.
Oh,
unless Jeff's bare feet are out there eating your waffles.
Well, he's not allowed on the deck. He only makes it as far as the driveway.
The driveway.
Yes. We believe in safe decks here in Canada.
That's good. That's good. And you don't want the third worst handyman in Canada to come over.
Yeah. How bad is it that you're not even the winner of the worst handyman?
The runner-up.
Right.
Oh,
I heard that they did some yard work this week, and I thought Jeff couldn't have done that.
I'm surprised the pool's still standing up, to be quite honest with you. But
well, the previous owners.
Oh, that's it. There you go. Yes, I love it. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you all, both.
Thank
of
you.
Thank you so much for helping out and joining me today. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope you have a good weekend, good week, and we'll see you again soon, right?
Wonderful. Okay. See you next week.
Awesome. Everybody, have a good one. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Get us out of here.